You guys remember that part in the Christmas story where the kid wants a BB gun and everyone's like, don't get a BB gun, you gotta shoot your eye out? This bike's gonna shoot your head off. Cue the intro. All right, so it's not actually gonna shoot your head off, it's just gonna kill you. This is a 2011 CBR 1000 RR. It's an amazing bike, but I do my best to try to talk people out of buying bikes like this, because if I can, then I've succeeded, I've done my job. And after you hear about how incredibly fast it is and all these things, after you hear all that stuff, and then you still wanna buy it, and you're like, and you watch this video and you're like, yup, what he's saying is true. And you still wanna buy it? Awesome. This is the 9th generation of the Honda CBR 1000 RR. The first of the 9th generation came out in 2008, and I loved it. I had one. Interesting story about the 2008 and 2009s is when they came out, Honda mass produced this motorcycle. They made way too many of them. They thought the market was gonna be really good, and there was a huge crash at that time. And actually Suzuki didn't even release a bike in 2009 or 10. And so they were actually, I remember seeing the 2009 on Honda floors 2 or 3 years later, trying to sell for like $7,500. You could have bought that bike at that moment, kept the bike for 7 years, put 10,000 miles on them, and then sold the bike for $7,500 when the market recorrected and people wanted to buy sport bikes again. It was pretty incredible, but I loved this bike. And one of the things I love about this bike is how basic it is. There's no tech on it. There's no traction control, no ABS. It's just the raw. There's no A/B modes. Every single mode is kill. It's just a blast to drive. Now, even though it's kind of low tech, it does have the most important tech of any sport bike. And actually below that, so you look down at the forks, you notice there's no steering damper down there to stop you from like tank slap or speed wobble. And what it actually has is an electronically controlled steering damper underneath the tank. So this tank is actually a fake tank. This is all just plastic, which I think is great. You can change the whole color of the whole bike for fairly inexpensively because you're not replacing or painting the actual tank that's underneath it. Couple screws, pop that off. You're gonna see the steering dampener underneath there. And because it's electronic, at low speeds, it's not really even on. The faster and faster you go, the more it puts resistance to it, and you don't even notice it's doing its job. It's probably the best way to damper your steering I've ever seen. Let's talk a little bit about the stats. 440 pounds wet. That's 20 pounds heavier than a 600 Super Sport. Now both bikes are pretty much the same size. I'm 6'2", I don't feel any more comfortable in a 1000 than I do on a 600. 20 pounds heavier and almost 60 to 70 horsepower more. That's almost 60 or 70% more power than a 600. Now 600s are fast. These are incredibly faster. Now you actually don't notice both bikes are gonna have similar 0 to 60s. It's not until that, past 60 miles an hour and you start getting to highway speeds where something like this just starts to destroy everything out there. The first time I rode, I was never a huge fan of the Hondas until the 9th generation came out. And the first time I rode one of these, it's really when the bikes actually started to feel lighter and feel more nimble. It's when the bike started to feel just as light and just as nimble as the 600s. Now at the time, I still had my track bike, my 2006, 2007 GSXR 600 track bike. And from going from that to this bike, it made my bike feel like it was a big fat heavy pig. Jumping on this bike made me feel like a better rider, hitting the corners faster, just everything about it. Let's take it for a spin. I can't wait. Stay to the end of the video. We're gonna do a 0 to 60. It should easily be a sub 3 second 0 to 60 if I can keep the power to the ground. Let's go do it. All right, guys, before we do the test drive, let's do the words of wisdom. Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Then I said, "Here I am, send me." Yeah, put my gloves on. Hopefully we can get this thing ridden before the rain comes. I love riding sport bikes. I feel very at home on them. And when you compare the power, just the raw power, you talk to guys with Harleys and other cruiser bikes, and I'm not gonna lie, it's cute when they think their bike is fast. It's because they haven't ridden anything, and they're not comparing it to anything. They're comparing it to like their other buddies' Harleys. Man, I smoked my other buddy's Harley. They don't know what fast is. I mean, this is fast. I've ridden Harleys. And I've gone fast on them. I've gone, you know, triple digits, a closed course track. And Harleys they're not made for that. They're not made to be going that fast, but they can do it. And bikes like this, we're talking triple digits on one wheel. That's how fast it is. And that's like effortlessly. You know, there's plenty of room there's plenty more room left in these things. It was a hard shift for me to go from performance like this and then start riding cruiser bikes, because it's a different type of thing. It's a different type of riding. There's a type of exhaust called neighbor haters. They should call bikes like this maker meters, because you ride bikes like this, you might end up meeting your maker. What I mean by that is God. You might die and go to heaven and meet God. Oh man, it's good to be back. I had a bike just like this. It was painted pearl white. I really liked it. It was an 09. I ended up letting it go. What blows my mind is how much performance you can buy for around like $5,000 or $6,000. Like insane amount of performance. Start trying to buy a car that can perform like that. You're spending at the minimum, at the very minimum, and maybe you found some guy that needs in a pinch. He dropped $40,000 in making this car fast, and he sold it to you for $30,000. You know what I mean? That might happen, but it's for cheap. You can buy a fast bike. You can buy a fast bike for real cheap, and this is one of them. Now what this bike is missing is I don't think it has a gear indicator on it. Nope. That's alright. I'll let it slide. But the way, man, these things, they just feel so incredibly nimble, so light in the corners. Like this bike feels more comfortable just laying it down, taking those corners, than it does doing anything else. I mean, trust me, you got the gyroscopic effect. It feels great going straight, but then as soon as you just push a little bit of pressure on your handlebars, it just whoop whoop. It makes you feel like you're a better rider. It makes you feel like you can handle corner better than what you actually can. And in a way, it kind of does make you a little better rider. But the scary thing is, it might make you think you're an even better rider than what you are, and that's when you die. Beautiful, amazing bike. Now they made this bike in a couple different colors throughout the years. My personal favorite color was a silver and candy apple red. I thought it was just awesome. I don't think they ever made a white one. So if you see a white one, it may have been custom. They made white with other colors, but never just like a pearl white. Not a common color. So first gear should go way past, should at least go to 60 miles an hour. The problem is going to be just keeping that front end down and trying to maintain that. Now when you're launching like a 600 Super Sport, you kind of just dump it. You just dump it at those higher RPMs. When you're launching a 1000, it's got so much power. You can see how how quick revving this thing is at the lower RPMs. It has a lot of torque and a lot of power pretty much all throughout the power band. It's not so, you know, nothing, 8,000, bam, you know, like the 600s are. So with something like this, you kind of just, I don't know, maybe take it to like 2,000 and let it go, but then you're gonna be clutching it the whole way through. It pulls just as hard going in third gear as it does in like second gear. And then same thing, like my leg cramped up, that's why I'm dragging it out here. This bike just it's such a fun bike to ride. Watch this. Watch how hard this thing pulls. Well, barely getting on it back there. Oh yeah, I'm also in top gear. So I'm doing the speed limit, I'm doing 5,000 RPMs, which is nothing. I could drop potentially 3 gears and not be redlining it. And then just take this thing the whole way up to the speed limit. What a fun bike to drive. Don't buy this bike. Do not buy this bike. This bike will absolutely get you into all the trouble. This bike will widow your wife, orphan your children. Alright guys, that wraps it up. We will see you next time on Srkcycles. If you guys are interested in buying this bike, don't buy this bike. Check out the website, Srkcycles.com. If you're interested in buying gloves, check these things out. And if you guys are just looking at, if you don't know what bike you want right now, you're still trying to figure it out, but the shops don't have the bike for you, and you want to test drive something or rent something, check out ridershare.com. Go to the website and then try to find bikes in your local area that you can rent. Now don't be renting bikes like this if you've never ridden a bike like this, but there's tons of bikes you can rent all over in anyone's area. It's actually pretty cool. And if you're going on vacation, you know, hey, instead of rent a car, rent a bike. All right guys, that wraps it up. Remember, it's not what you're riding, but where you're going. And don't forget to subscribe. If this video has brought you any little itty bitty bit of value, just subscribe. You can see more videos. And subscribe to the Bikes and Beards channel. All right guys. Now I'm gonna do a wheelie.